Hey everybody, good morning to you from Cyprus. This isn't my usual time, but taking it the way that I can. Hey Beth, what's up darling? Thank you for coming in. Erica, how are you? Lovely to have you in, guys. So I've got something very interesting for you today. I know I always say that. Hello darling, lots of kisses to you. Hey Zorbe, what's up? So what I'm going to share with you today is somewhat controversial. Erica, I'm good, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about in big part. It's all about the hysterectomy, actually, but we're looking at the metaphysics of it, and it's somewhat unorthodox, okay? So some of the information might be a little bit shocking for you. How am I feeling? Much better, darling. Doing much better, yeah. So thank you so much for your concern. And you know, the hysterectomy procedure, it went well, and I'm sort of in the physical healing process of it, and that's kind of in a big part what we're going to discuss, but looking at it metaphysically. So if you feel that somebody might benefit from this information, then I invite you to share it on with your own crew, if you want to do that. And I'm gonna just get straight stuck in, I think, yeah. So last Sunday I was concerned, very concerned, much so, very connected with you throughout. Thank you so much, Beth. I really felt the energies of everybody who is connected with me, and I really do appreciate it, and I really did feel it. So this is what we need to look at, okay? It's the metaphysics. Now, I don't want you to get upset. I don't want you to get angry. This is my story, okay? These are my disclosures of what's been going on with me. It doesn't mean that it applies to everybody, but the reason that I'm sharing it is because I know that a lot of this gnosis, a lot of this knowledge or information is gonna ring true for many of you, which is why it's going to be shared to my YouTube channel also. And love to you, Jai, to Russia also. So, cycles that are controlling us, and the hysterectomy disclosures. Much better, thank you. So what actually happened was that I had a huge fibroid on the back wall of my uterus that turned out to be 11 centimeters. Okay, so it was absolutely ginormous, and the first weird fact of the matter is that I had no obvious symptoms, and the doctors couldn't work out why I wasn't aware of it. And after the operation, I'm actually becoming more aware of why things turned out the way that they did. Hey Angus Liman, how are you doing? Thanks for joining. So I was actually blocked because I was trying to discover throughout the process leading up to my decision to have the operation. How are you? I was blocked intuitively on myself. I was okay for working with other people, but for this particular issue, it was like I was blocked to accessing the deeper root reason. I couldn't access it. I was getting things like because, you know, I didn't want to have children, which is true, I didn't. I was getting things to do with, you know, reproducing, which is all true. So I was getting like increments of truth related to why this huge fibroid grew there, but I knew that it wasn't the root, and it was the root that I wanted. But because it wasn't coming through, I just kind of let it go, at least for a while. What's going on, Creativity Tribe? Thanks for joining. So I was getting challenges to do self-healing on myself for this particular issue. I had to have a partial hysterectomy, had to have the uterus removed. Hey darling, thanks for locking in. And the reason I had to have it done was because of this huge fibroid that could not be removed of its own. The whole lot had to go, which I was really quite happy about. I had no qualms about it, no emotional issues about it, no esoteric issues about it. Hey Leanne, how you doing, darling? Thank you for rocking in. It's nice to see some of you guys in the house. I appreciate your presence. So guys, this is what I found. After the op, I was getting some inklings of it just before surgery. I started to feel like there may have been other forces involved in what it was that was going on with me. Thanks for sharing on, Beth. I do appreciate that, darling. Yeah, I'm glad to be here too. Lots of kisses to you as well, Leanne. So what I did was I was getting inklings just before the surgery. Things were coming through, and I must share with you that a couple of my students did help me out. They were clearing like a bunch of blockages at this time, which I found out after the op. And that was allowing me to access like the deep stuff that I'm going to share with you guys right now. So thanks specifically to all of the gang at the Fusion 7 Healing Truth School that helped me out, specifically Maria Giriago, who did quite a lot of extensive work so that I could access these deeper places. Thanks to you, darling. So this is what came up. I was just coming out of the anaesthesia from the surgery. By the way, that was Sunday just past. And I connected to the fibroid, even though it was gone. Now, I want to share with you also that my surgeon, who was a female surgeon, she was amazing, had it done in Thailand. You'd have to see my previous scope to find out all about that. Told me that my uterus, thank you Fusion 7 Healing Crew for helping me, my dear Helen, you're very welcome, my darling. Found that my uterus, listen to this guys, was the size of a 3-month pregnancy, and it was distorted. This was the status of my uterus at the time, and weighed almost just under a kilo. Yeah, it was 3/4 of a kilo in weight, they told me, after they removed this thing, right? That's the weight of the fibroid I'm talking about. So that was what it looked like. Now I started to get inklings before surgery. I'm coming out of surgery, coming out of the anaesthesia, and I started to get information. I found myself connecting to the fibroid. And I said, why were you there? And it said, because I was full of anger and full of rage. And I was like so shocked. And I was like, what? Mine? And the answer from primary source was that the specific anger and the rage wasn't coming from myself, but there was anger and rage in the fibroid. So I continued to ask my said that wrong, my investigation questions, and they said, a primary source had said to me, it isn't yours. I said, okay, so whose is this rage? Where is this anger coming from? Deities involved in our incarnation and life cycle matrix was the answer that I received. Did you get that? Right? Deities involved in our incarnation and life cycles matrix was the answer that I received. So what that means in a nutshell, Truth Crew, is basically the beings that are involved in our reincarnation matrix that keeps us coming here again and again and again and again. This is where the rage and the anger was coming from. Okay? So this fibroid was actually growing like a fetus inside of me, inside of the uterus. So I said, why? So why is this happening? Why would they have anger there? What is this all about? And it is because I decided to not participate in cycles of the procreation program, and this is why they were so angry with me, because I made a conscious decision that I never wanted ever to have children, to give birth, very, very consciously. And so there was anger at that. So why? Hey Luciski and someone, boy, I missed you. So why was there anger? You know, why all this rage? And the answer was, Truth Crew, was that they wanted to punish me because I had decided not to participate in the procreation program. And again, I probed more. Why? And the answer that I received, I'm getting goosebumps by the way as I'm saying this, the answer is because they determined that I was meant to, or programmed to, or destined to give birth to a son, which they wanted to eventually kind of milk or take control of or use qualities of, because this particular being was supposed to have certain qualities that they just wanted to have a piece of the pie. So that is basically why the fibroid grew, because it doesn't make sense. This is the work I'm currently doing with casting shields. Apparently I have an unhappy thyroid. So make sure you have a good look into that, Beth, because this stuff really does run deep most of the time. Good morning to you, my love. And we don't even know it, you know. I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it for me. But then once I got the, you know, the clearing and the Fusion 7 healing work from Maria, I was able to access, you know, this deep information that was completely hidden, you know, and it didn't make sense because everything, like on the superficial level in me, is healthy. Yeah, it's important that you do, my darling. You know, I've never taken the pill. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I go to the gym. My weight is within the healthy realms. So everything on the physical just didn't make sense. Even the doctors couldn't work out how I had it. They couldn't work it out. So what's the dark type of entity? That's a good question. It wasn't just one entity, but perhaps a group of beings. Now, I haven't actually probed into who are the beings specifically, but I would say that it has, I can feel the quality, something along the Anunnaki sort of beings, maybe not necessarily them, because there are many beings I've disclosed in the past that were involved in our creation into being human. So this is what happened, and they didn't expect me to access these deeper levels of self-decoding. Yeah, so they were probably pretty pissed, basically. So this is what had happened. So what I then did was I went further and then detached myself from any and all of these sort of like artificial recycling matrix being that I may have been connected to in other times and places, or perhaps at the soul level. So this is what I did so that I can truly be free and not be dominated or controlled by any of these races or beings or gods or deities who want to shove you in a reincarnation matrix just for the sake of reproducing a slave type race. They don't want that, you see. And that's happening in the physical, and it's happening on the non-physical. Guys, as above, so below, it is one of the universal laws. And so this is what was happening. And so I wanted completely to extract myself from these cycles of recreation and procreation. And I'm not saying one shouldn't, I'm saying that it should be a complete conscious choice. If you decide to have children, if you decide to come to another life, if you decide to live again, it should be a fully conscious free will choice, which at this point, for the grand majority of humanity, it isn't. And so what happened to me, guys, is a result of that. So I hope that you understand it, and I just wanted to add to that. Just be aware if you are in forced defense of any of this that I have mentioned, and be very careful with the statement of, oh, that's just the way it is. Like in terms of like having children, like people think that just because we come to this world and we have a reproduction system that we must and we should, and it's just the way it is, and it's just the way nature showed it to us. That is a bunch of fucking lies, okay? Sorry for my expression, I shouldn't apologise really, but it isn't. It isn't, okay? And you need to be fully aware of that. And if you are planning to have a family, just please make sure that you are doing it for all of the right reasons. And if you're someone like me and you decide that you do not want to have a family, the same applies. Make sure that you decide not to reproduce for all of the right reasons. Know your stuff. So this is all about bringing your conscious awareness to some light of what it was that happened with me, what it was that happened to me, why it did, but managed to get the disclosure fully and completely, managed to find out what on this earth and beyond was going on with me. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is please hold your horses right there. Follow me if you're not following me and you are interested in metaphysical disclosures. I am going to close this show and come back in for any of your questions, okay? So lots of love. Give me a tick. I'm going to shut